Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today we will present about our topic, which is assessing the international business risk for Brahim expansion to Australia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sandro with metric number 1715445. So today I'll be talking about the country's background, which is Australia, and the key elements that influence the appeal of the country to Bahrain company. Australia is a sovereign country comprising the mainland of the Australian continent, the island of Tasmania, and a number of smaller islands. It is the largest country in Oceania and the world's sixth largest country by total area. A brief history: as early as the Middle Age and possibly earlier, stories were told about the existence of a large continent in the southern hemisphere, but Europeans had never seen it, and they referred it as Terra Australis Incognita, Latin for the unknown southern land. No careful exploration of the continent were made until 1770, when James Cook, a British naval officer and explorer, sailed along the eastern coast and named it New South Wales. He visited Botany Bay, near what is now modern Sydney. So, what are the key elements that may affect influence the appeal of country for Bahrain's? So, first is the population of Australian Muslim community is rising each year. This can be a good opportunity for Bahrain's company to open their business in Australia. On the other hand, Australia can be a good market in this pandemic time since they sell ready-to-eat meal. This makes people interested to buy their products since it's easy and convenient. Based on the statistics, food and alcohol beverage is top 5 household consumption expenditure in Australia by 9.4%, where the percentage for alcoholic consumption is only 3.6. This can be a good opportunity for buyers company since they only sell halal product. Another thing is access to talent. The diverse culture in Australia workforce is also perfect for global companies expand to Australia. Almost 30% of workers were born overseas, with 2.1 million able to speak an Asian language and 1.3 million speak an European language. According to the World Economic Forum Competitiveness Index, they rank 9th out of 126 countries for their level higher education and training. This can be this means that Australia has many potential of talents that can be used if Bahrain is going to Australia. Top of that, Australia has a huge higher revenue streams. According to the OECD Better Life Index, Australian ranks 5th of the OECD in amount of first disposal income per household. It means that people can afford Bahrain products. Lastly, with a strong support from the Australian government at all levels through grant, tax benefit, R&D, pilot programs, Australian could be good business destination for Bahrain's company.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Elia Shafira. My metric number is 1715266. So I will explain about my part, which is the cross-cultural factors that result in cross-cultural risk. Cross-culture can be defined as an interaction between business people from a different background, ethnicities, nations, and the essential of bridging them. It is important for the company to train the employees in communicating effectively with the other business cultures in order to expand the markets for the product globally. Besides, employees cannot only focus on mastering the cross culture but also need to have the ability to adapt with the social norms of the country. In Australia, the culture is more egalitarian, which is modesty and has a mutual respect for people. Besides, openness in voicing out their opinion and being receptive to new ideas, and individualism, which means more to a personal privacy of individuals. In business, Australians tend to be informal when in a business dealings, but it is still essential to mention Mr. or Mrs. in their name before they start the informality itself. Other than that, in the decision making, the process will be slow and take time rather than in rushing. They prefer to work together between the manager and employee and consider the opinions from employee before making a decision. There are many aspects of Australia culture in business that need to be learned in order to overcome any challenge to enter the market. However, by failure in doing so can lead in cross-cultural risks. For example, firstly, cannot adapt with business globally. This is because of the failure in integrate the local features with the global processes, products, and ideas. Secondly, cannot adapt with the management practices across culture. This is because of the ideas transfer to other culture is not consistent and not having a consideration of cultural variances. Thirdly, failure in getting a new opportunity. Because of the cultural barriers, the worker cannot identify the new opportunities which make them miss the essential thing that can improve the product market toward the international. And lastly, stakeholders' conflict will be occurred in the company. This is because of the differences in making a decision and reasoning, different ideas, value conflict, and increase the risk of ambiguity. Therefore, Brahim need to learn a lot of Australian culture in business in order to avoid the result of cross-cultural risk.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Duman Yu, and my metric number is 1716824. And today I'm going to present about the country factors will result in the country risk. First of all, country risk refers to the uncertainty related to investing in a country, and more specifically, the extent to which uncertainty could lead to the losses for the investors. This uncertainty can come in many ways, such as the political, economic, and exchange rate, and some technological influences. Those factors are the main risk of the investing overseas, are economic and the political factors. Because each country has a unique policy and economic system that often poses a challenge for the business operations and performance.
First of all, I think the Brahim needs to pay attention to the economic factors such as economic conditions, industrial policies, financing environment, market competition, and resources supply. Secondly, the legal factors such as laws, regulations, and regulatory requirements, and social factors such as security and stability, cultural conditions, and social credit, education level, and customer behaviors, and extra. And the next one is science and technology factors such as the technological progress, and also the natural environmental factors such as the natural disasters, environmental conditions will affect the aviation industry. In terms of external factors that need attention, the relationship between government information resources and officials has always been the first priority. I personally think that as the food-based industry, the quarantine industry, there are other details that need to be paid attention to. For example, for the cost control, there are purchasing cost and food safety and store environment creation and consumable expenditure and basic water and electricity facilities and equipment controls and overall store consumption level positioning and extra. For the personal management, the industry should processing staff and chefs and service staff and detailed management. And for the market system, overall market trend, coefficient, and surrounding environment control and industry public opinion information and food safety issues and market speculation. For the customer relationship, I think the industry have the membership card system and discount sales strategy and other promotion strategies for large enterprises. And I think those are factors will affect the country risk.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Emmanuel Huda binti Ramli, metric number 1817626. I am going to talk about the currency and financial issues that relate to currency and financial risk if Brahim chooses to enter into the Australian market. So what is currency and financial issues? They are brought about by a sudden decrease in the value of the currency of a nation. In fact, this reduction in value adversely impacts the economy by causing exchange rate volatility, meaning that one unit of a certain currency no longer costs as much as it used to buy in another currency. To clarify the matter, we may conclude that crises have evolved from a historical viewpoint as market perceptions induce substantial adjustments in the valuation of currencies. So what happened to Brahims if they choose to enter the Australian market? Firstly, it will affect the exchange rate between the Malaysian ringgit and Australian dollar. If the exchange rate between the Malaysian ringgit and the Australian dollar is 0.32, then 1 Malaysian ringgit can be converted into 0.32 Australian dollar. A decrease in the value of the Malaysian ringgit is known as depreciation. The direct effect of an exchange rate movement is to change the prices of goods and services produced in Malaysia relative to the prices of goods and services produced in Australia. When the Malaysian ringgit depreciates or loses value, less foreign currency is required to purchase a given amount of Australian dollars. This makes Malaysian produced goods and services cheaper than before when compared with goods and services produced in Australia. The indirect effects of exchange rate movements arise because changes in the relative prices of Malaysian and Australian goods and services affect economic activity and inflation in Australia. Secondly, it will affect economic activity and the labour market. By reducing the relative price of Malaysian produced goods and services, a depreciation of the Malaysian ringgit increases the international competitiveness of Malaysian exporters. At the same time, following an exchange rate depreciation, imported goods and services become relatively more expensive for Malaysian consumers and firms. This will cause an increase of employment rate in Malaysia since in the case of depreciation, the resulting increase in export volumes and decrease in import volumes will increase national income in Malaysia. Finally, the depreciation of the exchange rate would, in theory, boost inflation in two ways. First, there would be a rise in the cost of manufactured goods and services, leading to inflation. Secondly, the rise in aggregate demand and the increase in jobs will lead to higher wages and other costs, which are the inputs of output, which can be converted to markets more widely, which will also lead to higher inflation.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Maria Adib. My metric number is 1812562. I'll be discussing the commercial risk that Brahim might face while entering the Australian market. The demand for ready-to-eat meals, rapid urbanization, higher employment, busier lifestyles, and the COVID-19 lockdown has increased the demand for healthy and nutritious ready-to-eat meals. The ready-to-eat meals market in Australia has seen continuous growth over the years. Considering this increase in demand for ready-to-eat meals, Brahim's hygienically manufactured and conveniently packed ready-to-eat meals can be marketed to the consumers in Australia. This will provide a great opportunity for growth to Brahim. Competition from the Australian food processors. Australian food processors are recognized globally for the innovative and reliable production of high-quality, clean and green processed food, which is made by applying the latest food technologies and manufacturing processes. Australia also focuses on providing its food and beverage processors with exceptional security of supply and access to raw materials, which helps them to meet Asia's growing demand for protein-based processed food and ready to eat meals. Brahim, as a new entrant in this industry, will have to face many problems and challenges in terms of innovation, supply of raw materials, producing high quality product, and the use of technology to establish themselves in the Australian market while competing with the existing Australian food processors. Fulfillment of agreement. In complex food chains in the food industry, the responsibility for product safety and quality is shared among different business partners. All these business partners play an important role in ensuring the product quality and the safety. But in most cases, these partners do not know each other due to geographical and cultural differences. Therefore, there is a huge possibility of misunderstanding in implementation of agreement which was earlier agreed by all these business partners. Brahim needs to be prepared for this as it will be entering a new market which is full of challenges and risks.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurkadi Nizam bin Azhar, 1610133. So I'll be answering the question if Brahim's holding Brahim should consider entering the Australian market. So based on the research and discussion that our group had done, we believe, and we also suggest that Brahim's holding Brahim should considering to enter the Australian market in halal food industry. This is mainly because of two reasons, which are first, the accessibility for market penetrations, and second, the status of halal food in Australia. The first reason, as I say, accessible market penetration. This is basically Australia is a country that easily for people to start up a business.
According to Visual Capitalist and Global Age, Australia is in the top 15 countries ranked for starting a business. This is due to its stable economy and other benefits that the country can provide. In terms of opening a business, getting a location, assessing finance, and many more, Australia is one of the countries that support and making business startup at ease. So Brahim Holdings can easily penetrate the Australian market as the public policy and the application processes in operating and expanding a business is easier than the other country. Second is the status of halal food industry in Australia. Australia is a home for more than 500,000 of Muslims, where it makes up for about 2.6% of the population. So if Brahim Holdings expands the business in Australia, for sure this 2.6% of the population will become Brahim target customers or buyer. Plus there are less competitions in halal food industry, specifically in terms of the packed food products and ready to eat meals that are becoming the core product for the Brahim Holdings. Furthermore, at the moment, before the pandemic outbreak, Australia Tourism is promoting a concept of a Muslim-friendly trip as a part of its tourism value. People are informed upon the product and places that sell halal food. So it would be a great opportunity for Brahim Holding to use this campaign to reach target customers in Australia. And recently, thanks to the pandemic also, people regardless of their spiritual belief, they are starting to shift their preference into buying halal foods and products. This is because halal food are proven upon its health benefits and also hygiene.